to Tea Time with Tea. So, in today's chapter 3, I will be discussing anxiety. So last week I discussed bullying, and the week before was my introduction. I want to thank you guys once again for watching my last 2 chapters. It really truly means a lot to me that I have so many people supporting me in my life and in my journey and in my experiences. So thank you guys so much. So last week I said this was peach Bellini. Do you guys remember that? I lied. I know. It was beach Bellini. My husband corrected me after he watched the video. He's like, what did you call it? I was like, what do you mean, Bellini? He's like, no, before that I was like, peach. He's like, it's beach. And I was like, ah, shit. Oh, well, you gotta go with the flow. So once again, this is beach Bellini from Tivana. So good. All right, I'll go ahead and get started. As you can see, I changed my dew. I had already gotten rid of the purple because the last color didn't really work, and I got rid of the orange and added more pink last time, whatever, like 2-3 weeks ago. So this time, as you can see, I did a purple root, and then on the bottom I did a green root. Unfortunately, my color down here doesn't take as well because I think it's super fried. So it comes out like a Grinch green is what I like to say, and then into a pretty Kelly green into the blue. So yeah, there's a lot of still colors in there, but it's a little bit more the deeper hues. So that was just a little fun fact I wanted to share with you guys. Okay, let's dive in already to anxiety, because I feel like I'm already getting anxiety just thinking about it and talking about it. So I was diagnosed with social anxiety when I was 17. I remember when the doctor told me I had social anxiety, I was like, wait, what? That's crazy. I think I already told you guys in the first chapter, but I was like, what? That's crazy. Like, I'm very social. I'm outgoing. I'm a dancer. I'm a cheerleader. Like, how is that possible? Well, as I got older, I finally realized, like, wow, I do have social anxiety. Like, it is hard for me to start conversations with people. It's hard for me to approach people. You know, those insecurities, like, oh, what about if I don't know what to say to them? What about if I have nothing in common with them? What about if they think what I say is stupid? What about if I start stuttering? Because I stutter a lot when I'm, like, nervous. And so unless I feel like I'm in control of the situation, I don't approach people. Like, if I go to parties or anywhere where I don't know anyone, oh no, I'm definitely that girl in the side, like with my drink in my hand, just doing my own thing, because I'm like, there's too much chaos going on. I can't insert myself into that. But if it's like something like at work, for instance, people always get weirded out when I tell them that I'm an introvert at work. They're like, what? No, you're not. I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm just extroverted at work because A, I have to be, and B, I'm in an environment where I feel comfortable and I'm in control, right? I'm in control of how things run. I mean, obviously not everything, things happen, but overall, like, it's my bubble, it's my environment, it's what I'm used to, it's what I'm good at, it's what I know. If I don't have any of those things there, then yeah, then I kind of close in and I don't know how to react to stuff. But let's kind of take it back to the beginning. I remember having anxiety or paranoia or whatever you want to call it as a child. Not many people know this story, but I remember one time my sister and I were waiting for my dad to pick us up, and I was in 4th grade, I believe. And I remember like my heart racing, having all these crazy thoughts, thinking, oh my God, my dad's gonna forget about us. Oh my God, like he's not gonna pick us up. And I remember having thoughts like, what about if there's a drive-by at our school? And that's not something that a normal 4th grader thinks about. And when I told my husband this story, he was like, wait, like, did you live in a place where there's drive-bys? And I said, growing up, yes, we did. Like, we lived in a certain area of town, wasn't really nice. I remember my dad telling us a story where the neighbors told my dad, hey, keep the family inside, lock the doors, get away from their windows, but we're gonna be getting a drive-by here later tonight. Yeah, crazy. So anyway, I used to have really crazy, intense thoughts as a child. And I didn't know anything. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell anyone about it. It's just kind of thoughts that came in my head. My anxiety really flared up in high school. That's when I really was like, oh my God, I think I'm gonna die. My senior year, I believe it was, my mom had to drop me off every single day before school at a friend's house because I was terrified of going to school by myself. I was terrified of walking around by myself. And so I would go to my friend's house, and then her parents would then take me to school, where her and I had a falling out. I was dating my high school sweetheart at the time, so then my mom would drop me off at school. Mind you, I would freak out every single morning, have anxiety every single morning. I would wait for him inside the library, and that's where he would meet me. And then, unfortunately, he broke up with me, and I remember feeling so lost. Like, what do I do? Like, I had no one. The girl I used to go, over to her house, and her parents would take me to school. Her and I weren't friends anymore. My high school sweetheart, the guy that I thought, I loved and everything, like, just dumped me. And there goes my security blanket. Like, there goes things that made me feel safe. I was miserable. I would literally, I remember most of my stuff, once again, had to do with guy problems. I remember I would go in the bathroom and be crying hysterical, like trying to get a hold of my mom and calling my mom to pick me up because I'd have an anxiety attack in the freaking bathroom over God knows what. If it wasn't about bullying, then it had to do with, crying over a boy. And I can't tell you how many times my mom had to leave work just to come pick me up because I would literally have an anxiety attack to where I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe, I was hyperventilating at school. I didn't know really at that moment, because that was before I got diagnosed. I didn't know what was wrong. My mom just thought I was just really sensitive. She knew I was very emotional. She knew I fell in love easily, because fun fact, the first time I fell in love was I was 9 and I was on a cruise ship, and there was this boy that I thought was super cute, and he would kind of flirt back with me, and I was such a huge flirt. Surprise. He would flirt back with me, and I just like fell in love with him. And we were on this cruise ship for 2 weeks, a week. And I remember like knowing when we were going to go back to the port and stuff. That's what's called, right? Yeah. Okay. I remember like crying hysterical, like, oh my God, the love of my life. Like, I'm never going to see him again. I couldn't even tell you his freaking name. And my mom says she knew right then and there when I was 9 years old that I was going to be a handful and that I was going to fall in love too easily with everyone and anyone. Yeah, it's sad. Things just don't change. But anywho, when I finally went to the doctors and got diagnosed with social anxiety, it was rough. I was 17. I'm going to be 35 soon, in 3 months, actually 3 months from today, the day I'm filming this, which is the 7th. No one talked about it. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't anything anyone talked about. I don't even think I knew anyone with anxiety. I don't know if my mom knew anyone with anxiety. They knew of depression. Yeah, like depression was a thing, but not so much anxiety. And I had no one to talk to. No one. I remember I got on anxiety meds for the first time when I was 17. I gained a lot of weight from it, which was hard. I was 103, and then I think I jumped up to like 112. And that was huge for someone, so tiny, to do that just from getting onto the meds. And it affected a lot of things, but it started to kind of make sense, but I didn't have anything to read. I mean, there probably was books then, I don't know. I didn't know about anything. Which is crazy because I started to follow like an anxiety group on Instagram, and there's like, I don't know, 15 people on there, and they're sharing their anxiety stories, and most of them are like, oh my God, I've only had anxiety for 3 years. Oh my God, I've only had anxiety for 2 years. I feel like I can't breathe. I feel like I'm having a heart attack, and am I having a heart attack, or is this anxiety? I don't know what it is. And I feel so bad because I'm like, I experienced that how many years ago? Like, I know when my anxiety is going to happen. I know what triggers my anxiety. I know how to control my anxiety. I know when I can't control my anxiety. I know what things to do to ensure that I don't have an anxiety attack because I've gone through it for so long. So it was so weird for me to hear these people who were adults going through this and like, oh, my heart's racing. I don't know if it's anxiety or a heart attack. And I'm like, I went through that at 17. I remember not knowing what it was and not knowing how to controlling it. My anxiety attacks used to be so bad where I would literally scream like a tantrum, pretty much. I would scream so loud and cry hysterical, and I mean like huge tears coming out, and I'd be on the ground screaming, like kicking, hitting everything. I couldn't get the emotions out. I couldn't speak of them. I didn't know what to do. Where the only person who knew how to control me was my mom, and it was new to her too, so she was like learning it with me. Where I would be hyperventilating but I could not breathe, and then what happens after that? My asthma would start to flare up, so then I couldn't breathe even more because I'm like grasping literally for air. I probably had really bad anxiety attacks up to not too long ago, maybe about 6 years ago. Because even when I first met my husband, I was having really bad anxiety attacks, and it was hard for him too because he didn't know anyone. He wasn't used to it. He, would try to calm me down, but from my experience, there's nothing you can really do to calm me down. I have to do it myself. You can't. A few things, just kind of word of advice. Don't ever tell someone who has anxiety to calm down. Don't ever tell someone with anxiety to relax, chill out. You'll be fine. Everything's okay. Those words do not mean shit when you have an anxiety attack. Honestly, they probably make the situation worse. Honest truth. It just doesn't. So my husband learned very quickly not to say any of those words to me. I'm the type, when I have an anxiety attack, is I need to get it out, so I cry, and I cry bad. And then maybe like 10 minutes later, I'm fine, but I'm super sore after I have my attacks. Like, it feels like I was in a car accident or someone in a fight, like someone beat me up or something. My entire body aches so bad where I have to usually take ibuprofen or some kind of painkillers after I have an anxiety attack. I usually have to sleep it off because emotionally, mentally, I am drained. Like, I can't function. So the times that I've had anxiety attacks at work, I've had to go home sick because I can't function. I can't lead a team. I can't, I don't do a service to anyone. So I usually have to go home and like sleep it off, and then I'm okay. I have a lot of friends reach out to me over the years. Oh my God, for at least 10 years, I've had people reach out to me asking for my advice and what do I do and how should they cope with anxiety because it's new to them. We all experience it differently, right? There's different anxieties. We all have our attacks differently. This is stuff that works for me. So I got on meds when I was 17. I got off of them maybe a year after. I don't really remember, but I wasn't on them very long. And then I got on medicine again to get my driver's license. I was terrified to drive, like terrified. But my goal was to get my driver's license by the time I turned 21. But I knew I couldn't do it on my own. I knew there was no way to like get my driver's license on my own. So I got on anxiety meds again, took my driving test, passed it, got my driver's license, and then soon after I got off the meds again. So that time it was very short. It was maybe a month, if that. Sorry, my heart's racing like pretty badly. And then I got on anxiety meds again to go to Disney World for our honeymoon. So this was in 2015. I was terrified to go on a plane. Like, oh my God, so scared. I hadn't been on one since I was 9, since we went on the cruise. I went to Disney World then. I couldn't sleep. I was literally felt like throwing up leading up to our honeymoon. Like, it just was not it. So I went back to see a therapist, and they put me on some medicine to calm me down, to get me on the flight. Unfortunately, I took a shit ton of, I had 2 different anxiety pills that they prescribed me, and I drank wine on the flight, and I still couldn't sleep. I was so like high strung that I just couldn't. I was so freaked out that I couldn't sleep. And then a fourth time that I got on anxiety meds was when we went to Hawaii last year. Same thing again, going on a plane. I'm not a plane person. I like to be in control. When you're on a plane, you have no control over what happens. You have no control over what that plane does. You have no control over the pilot, literally nothing. And it freaks me the fuck out. So I had to get on meds again last year to go to Hawaii, but those were more emergency meds, and my doctor only gave me like 6. They actually worked really well. I slept through the plane ride, but it's because I was terribly sick. So I don't know if it was the meds, the drugs I was on for my illness, might have been both, I don't know. But yeah, so I've only been on meds 4 times. A lot of people ask me, why am I not on them regularly? Because when I was on them, I think the second time, I didn't like who I was. As you can see, I'm very like outgoing, I guess you can say. And they numbed me really bad to where nothing affected me. I remember my parents would be fighting and it didn't even bother me. Maybe my sister and I, maybe she was yelling at me about something and it didn't even bother me. Like, I was literally numb. I had no reaction to anything. I wasn't excited. I wasn't happy. I wasn't nothing. I was literally just a zombie almost, going through the motions. And yeah, it felt great because I didn't have anxiety. Yeah, it felt great that I wasn't crying, being all depressed over something, but it wasn't me. I wasn't who I was known to be. I wasn't happy. So that's why I don't get on meds anymore, because of that experience. Do I think they're helpful? Yes. Do I think meds are for everyone? No. I think we all have different chemicals imbalances within ourselves, and you need to figure out what works for you. Just because I'm not on meds doesn't mean you shouldn't be, or just because I've been on meds before doesn't mean you have to. You know, you got to figure out what works for you. One of the things that people keep telling me is to smoke weed. I get told to smoke weed. I've been told for years to smoke weed, and I have never smoked weed a day in my life. I personally have no desire to. I have no desire to try it. I have no desire to test it out. I have no desire for any of it. I remember my brother told my mom and I, God, this was years ago, he was like, you and mom need to smoke a blunt and you guys will be a lot more chilled out. And I was like, oh shit, like, nah, I'm good. I've had friends like put it in my face. I mean, I've literally had everything. Oh, Tiara, you'll be so much more calm. You'll be so much more relaxed. Things wouldn't bother you as much, but I just don't want to. I take a lot of pride in telling people that I haven't smoked weed. I value that. I feel like I'm proud of myself, actually, that I'm able to do what I can and still manage and do the things that I do with my anxiety. Some people are shocked when I say I have anxiety. They said they would never be able to tell. And I have other people who are upset with me because I claim my anxiety. Tiara, it's not yours. It's just anxiety. And I say, no, because it is mine. It's something that I've been challenged with my entire life. It's something that I have had to live with. I've had to manage. I've had to work through my entire life. So it is mine. It's not yours. It's not the next person, but it's mine, because my experience is different than someone else's. Yeah, we might have similarities, but it's not exactly the same. So I will take full ownership over my anxiety. I know I'm talking a lot. I might have just lost my train of thought right now. But on that note, let's take a tea break and drink some tea. I remember one of my managers told me when I was talking through my anxiety with her, and she was like, well, Tiara, I think, you know, anxiety is affecting you a lot in different ways. Like, it's just hindering you from doing things that you might want to do or you could be doing. You know, I just feel like it's it's kind of ruining who you are. And I remember when this manager told me that, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Have you not listened to me at all? Was a girl who wouldn't even walk by herself in high school and moved 4.5 hours away from home to live out my dream. No one thought I would last this long. No one. They thought maybe months, and that I would go back home. I was a mama's girl. I was always with my mom. Like, my mom was my best friend. We did everything together. She was shocked that I left. And I was like, how dare you say that? I have accomplished so much in my life, even though I have anxiety. Yes, I'm not gonna lie, it has hindered me a lot. And all the auditions I used to go to, my anxiety would get so bad to where I would forget all choreography. I mean, like, clear my mind of every single thing that I just learned. So yes, it has hindered me a few times. Interviews, I never did well in interviews because my anxiety got in the way, because my heart would be racing, my hands would be all sweaty, I would feel like throwing up, to where I just couldn't focus. I could not clear my mind. So yes, I understand that. There is times where it has affected me, but overall, I am damn proud of where I am today. It has almost helped me more because it's pushed me, because I know it's there, but I'm not gonna let it stop me. It didn't stop me from auditioning. It didn't stop me from interviewing. It didn't stop me from moving 4.5 hours away from home to pursue my dream job. So when that manager told me that, I remember thinking, like, you obviously don't know me. You're not taking the time to get to know me and know my story, because if you did, you would hopefully see that I'm a fighter, and I will not let this one thing, yes, it's a really bad, dark, black thing here in my face, interfere with my goals and my dreams. So yeah, let me see, what else do I have for you guys. Did I finish the weed thing? Yes, I don't want to smoke weed. So if you guys are watching this, please stop telling me smoke weed, you'll feel better. I'm not gonna do it. Like, I'm telling you right now. I'm not gonna say never, because I never say never, but I'm not gonna do it. Like, I have no desire, no interest. So please stop. Stop telling people who have anxiety that they're okay, they're fine, they need to relax. Stop saying all those trigger words, because it's not helping the situation at all. Figure out what's wrong. Find out ahead of time, before they have anxiety attacks, what they need to relax, what they need to overcome that anxiety attack. Thankfully, my husband now knows what I do. I literally just cry it out. Just let me fucking cry it out and I'll be fine. And then that's usually it. But there's sometimes where I can't. I still get anxiety attacks before I get shots. I know, a girl who has tattoos all over. I get anxiety attacks too before I get tattoos. But when I get shots, they have to lay me down in the bed like a little child, and every time they give me like a little sticker that says, yay, you did it, because I'm so dramatic and I have to have 2 nurses holding me down to give me, to draw my blood out. Yeah, true story. So, so yes, I still face it, but I think I do pretty well at it. I mean, you can see sometimes it comes out where I just get overwhelmed, so I just got to take a step back. But you guys, like, those of you who are suffering through anxiety, know that it's not the end of the world. Know that you can get stronger and you can fight through it, and you just need to figure out what works for you. Is it journaling stuff? Is it medicine? Is it weed? Is it you know, talking like to anxiety groups, because there's tons of that. Like, I know me going to Kaiser, there's a bunch of anxiety groups that I could talk to, but I don't like talking to random people because I have social anxiety, see? But figure out what's best for you. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Chances are you're probably not having a heart attack. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a doctor, I can't diagnose you, but still, you know, don't take it lightly. It is something very serious. Something I do want to kind of finish with is something that's really rough for me to talk about. I don't think anyone really knows any of this. My husband does, but that's kind of it. When I was first diagnosed with anxiety and I got on meds, My father told me that medicine was for weak people and anxiety was pretty much a myth and it wasn't true, and told me to suck it up. Years later, like years later, he got diagnosed with anxiety. I know, ironic, right? He would think it was his asthma because his heart would be racing and all that stuff, and his doctor finally was like, no, like, you're having an anxiety attack. Okay, so that happened. Now let's move back again. Years later, he moved in with me, and he knew I had anxiety, and sometimes I have anxiety before going to work. Going to work is another trigger. I don't know why I get really bad anxiety. When I was in my old apartment, I would probably call out like 3 days a week for months because I would get the worst anxiety just laying in bed. It took me everything just to get up in the morning to get to work. Thankfully, I had FMLA for my asthma and my anxiety, so I was able to use it, but I probably missed most of the last year of my last apartment because I used to call out all the time. So even now, well, obviously I'm out of work for 5 months, but before the pandemic, some days were still like that where I just couldn't. I could not go to work. It's rough because there would be times I'd be like, oh my God, I'm failing my husband because here he is working, busting his ass off, and here's me, sick ass, laying in bed. But thankfully, like, he would understand and know that it's mind over matter. And sometimes I can't do it. I just cannot do it. I try and I fight myself and I tell myself, okay, if you go to work, you'll have fun. If you go to work, you'll make money. If you go to work, you'll do this. If you go to work, do that. None of that mattered in that moment. In those moments, I could not, it's all here, right? It's all in our minds. But I could not get past it, and I could not be strong enough to get myself to work. So anyway, my father knew all of this, and I remember one day he was taking me to work, and he was like, oh, well, mija, me and my anxiety, and this is what I do, and this is what I take. And I said, okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. Like, I don't want to discuss this with you right now. He's like, why? I said, I am not gonna discuss my anxiety with you. Like, you're not a person for me to discuss it with. And he was like, I don't understand, like, what's going on? I started crying hysterical to him, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? When I was diagnosed at 17 years old, as a fucking kid, you told me that my anxiety was weak. You told me that it was fake, that I was making it up in my head. And he's like, I don't remember that. I was like, but I do. I will never forget how you made me feel. Ever. And he's like, I'm sorry. I was like, I get it, and I try not to hold a grudge, obviously, but when your father tells you that you're weak and your father says these cruel things to you about a mental illness that you have, it's hard to overcome it. And I told him, I was like, don't you ever talk to me about anxiety ever again. So yeah, that was rough. I know I didn't really get too deep today because I kind of, like, my anxiety took over and I just started talking. But if any of you guys want to kind of sidebar with me and discuss what you're going through, I will be empathetic to what your emotions are. I will try not to be like, oh, well, when I had this and I did that. But please don't be afraid to reach out to me. Like I said, I've been going through it for most of my life. It's something I know I've had since I was a kid. I was a kid when I got diagnosed. It's something I face daily. I just know what to do to relax. Actually, Betsy, she is my emotional support animal for my anxiety, because when my husband and I first got married, he had gotten a new job and he was never home, and I was anxious beyond belief. Like, it was ridiculous. And I needed a companion. I needed someone to give my love to, my emotions to. And I adopted her, and since then, my anxiety attacks have dropped so much. I don't freak out as much. I'm not as anxious as much. It started to come back again when she started getting older, and she didn't need me as much anymore. So that's why we adopted Rainbow. And as you guys can see in the videos, Rainbow's like a ball of energy, and she's psycho, and she's crazy and insane, and I love her to death, but she's a lot to take on. So I kind of can't be anxious either with her, because I have to be 100%. But that's an option too for those of you that are having some kind of mental illness, to consider adopting an animal, because it, like Betsy, has saved my life, and I have said it over and over again. Who saved who? Who rescued who? Who rescued who? Because she rescued me at a dark place in my life. She definitely saved me, and still to this day, like, she knows when I'm emotional, she knows when I'm anxious, like, she just comes to me and she just gives me all the love, and it's literally, she's my angel, and I'm blessed every day that she's in my life and I'm in hers. So yes, that could be something too for you guys to do. I think that's it. I'm pretty much rambling, trying to be like, oh, don't forget this, don't forget that, da 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 da. But yeah, so if you guys have topics that you guys want to talk about, I've had some friends reach out to me about talking about infertility, which is not something most people talk about, but so I'll probably be talking about that soon. I've had friends reach out to me about like friends issues, like going through relationships like that, which I am always down to talk about that. So if there's anything you guys want to discuss, just send me a DM and we can talk about that. Thank you again for joining me with Tea Time with Tea. Let's take another sip. And I hope you guys have a great day, and thank you so much. Bye.